I enjoyed working out, and then after that actually made things a lot worse. And then I came across this guy that does muscle activation techniques, and by that time I was crooked and bent to the left, and I was that way for about 3.5 years. Because I was so atrophied on my right side that my left side had tightened up to keep me out of that position. And then I did a demo that day at an IDEA conference in New York, and the guy reactivated, restimulated my obliques, and my hip dropped that night. So I thought, this is, I think, what I want to do. So I dropped acting, dropped personal training, and did that full time. Now I've been doing it 12 years later. Like I've done some work on Nick. We've done a new process within the process, and now I've finished that process. It was a 4.5-year internship. Finished that, and that's what you're going to experience tomorrow, and I'd like to get you to experience as well. Yeah. And so anyway, my thought process really changed after I looked at how I believe the muscle system works and what I kind of been taught and what I've been seeing over the years. And kind of the fundamentals about MAT is, and that's separate from this, MAT really looked at tightness as protective. It looks at flexibility only as good as you are stable. Really building a foundation of stability so you can build true strength. The thing is that what I found with MAT, and when we work on the muscle fiber types with MAT, is we are stimulating the type 1 fibers, and those are the fibers that can handle the least amount of stress. And so what I would find with a lot of my clients, I would do isometrics and I'd do things, and people always pushed too much, they did too much, they didn't know how to feel it. And it was hard sometimes to get people to understand what they were trying to feel. So my dad and I worked on this, and so once I started with the tool balancer, and then once I became with the mechanical muscle, and this is the 14th version of it. I have one more I'm doing because there's little things wrong with this. And what happens is when you start to use that, now most pulleys and exercise and stuff, they're recruiting as many motor units as possible to move that load. This is doing the exact opposite. So it's telling the body, oh, wow, I don't need as many motor units to fire, so I'm going to fire the least number of motor units as possible, the least number of muscle fibers as possible. So, and with this, and I'll show you a little bit with Audra, we start with really small movement. I work into movement, and there's different ways that I can do it. I just found that my recovery was better. If I had aches and pains, it would seem to go away. I can open up range with this. There's a number of things I can do with it. Like when Dan came, and he's a big kettlebell guy, and so we had a whole big discussion about kettlebells and what it does and all this kind of stuff. And I'm not saying anything's bad, I said there's a process for everything. So most people, when they go start kettlebells, they're just doing too much weight, and that's with everything. They're not understanding what's going on. So when Dan came to me, he's like this. And so we started just working on lateral flexion, just trying to get him to, really, because he has a hard time associating with the muscles. So with this pulley being so light, it starts to really stimulate. Like I can really have him go contract without moving. Contract, can you feel that? Yeah, I can feel it. Contract, and then we start to go a little bit more range, and a little bit more range, and then I start to do other things with it, playing with time and speed and all that kind of stuff. And then we bring him off the pulley, and all of a sudden he's a lot straighter. The thing I found when I was a kid and lost the ability to move, basically, is that I was so out of touch, and I didn't know what was going on with my body. And I always felt like I wanted to have a way to understand what was actually going on with my body. Give me some base knowledge. So I always feel like with reading and writing, it's like understanding movement is just as important, because that's our body. And if we don't understand how we're moving, most people are just telling us to move. They're not telling us how and what to move. And so once I started learning that, it gave me some empowerment. So what I was always doing is I'm trying to teach my clients, and with this modality, is teach people how to have this fundamental base, so when they go and do things, they're much more educated. So they're easier to work with when you're doing your modalities. It's like it would be even much like just having this and then doing the functional training would be just a real good way to like combine the two. So that's what it is. It's giving people base knowledge, because sometimes people just can't feel it, and they don't know how to access it, and the force is too much. So this is where the force is really, really light. So if you know a lot of stuff and a lot of like this would be awesome. Appreciate it.
I can really feel that. I can feel that lifting my body up away from gravity, like getting into my arch.
That's also what you want.
Yeah.
Do them from the stroke or something like that.
And now
doing
with
small
the
movements.
Absolutely. Yeah, you really, I can feel that.
If you're a couple miles closer, you can just walk
I
around.
know, right?
Yeah.
Hold. Go to the pelvis first, yeah. And now rotate. Good. Right. So now again, push the pelvis, rotate a little bit more. Good. Hold. Push back through my hand. Yeah, there you go. And relax. Good. Come out of it. And then push through here. Okay. And then rotate again. Keep rotating. Good. And relax. Yeah, push through. Come out. Good. And again, so push through. And then rotate. And what I do is I encourage people to find their own end range. So a lot of times what people think, they feel like this is my rotation. That's not your rotation. You're rotating. There's a lot of other things doing it too, you know. So and push through here, and then see if you can find your end range. So rotate. Yeah, right. And the thing is, of course, you don't want to hold your breath with it, and slowly come out. Then and then now do one more time. Find your end range. Come back to the end. There you go. So you open up a little bit more. Yeah. And then slowly come out of it. Yeah. And make sure the pelvis is moving too. So you're coming. Yeah. You're trying to work both. And then now go back into it fluidly. Then go back. Come to the trunk. Yeah. And now slowly come out. Good. And now do a couple of fluid movements. So come back through. Good. And then come all the way out.
Yeah, I just
And again. Good. And one more time. Come back. Yeah. So then what I do is I start to coordinate and I can do movements with the pelvis.